There have been many guesses as to where we are from, and some are much closer to home than others. With that in mind, I have decided to shed a little light onto an area not too far from where I am sitting. My home city has a deep and rich history, not all of it pleasant. The region has plenty of paranormal myths and tales that even the most proud of skeptics will find hard to ignore. Here are some of my favourite creepy legends in and around the historical city of Manchester. The tale of a ghostly figure of a woman attempting to thumb a lift near Mersey Square on Wellington Road South has intrigued many paranormal experts. The story, which features in a book called Supernatural Stockport by Martin Hills, says that on one occasion a biker picked up a woman and gave her a lift home to Hazel Grove, but when he dropped her off, she simply vanished into thin air. The biker then knocked on the door and a couple answered. They said that their daughter had died in a crash on Wellington Road years earlier. And according to hauntedisland.co.uk, in 1974, Brian Mohan was driving his cab on the A6 through Great Moor when an elderly woman suddenly appeared sitting in the back seat. She was expressionless, dressed in black with a white blouse and black bow. The driver then pulled over and turned to ask the woman how she got into his cab, only to find she had disappeared. There have been a number of reported ghostly goings-on at Manchester Airport over the years. Documents dating back to the 1970s show a string of strange encounters concentrated in an area which is now Terminal 3's departure gates. The most common account is of a ghostly male figure dressed as an airman wandering around the gates before disappearing. One letter, written in 1971 by a former airport worker, reveals how he had encountered an old man whom he believed was the ghost of a night watchman who was killed there years earlier. Staff have also reported often hearing slamming doors, but when they investigate they find the rooms empty and lights off. Another worker claims to have seen a person wearing a pilot's hat walking into the toilets at night and hearing the doors shut. When the worker went into the toilet to investigate, there was nobody there, and the motion-sensitive lights hadn't come on. Boggart Hole Clough. The beautiful urban park in Blackley has a dark and troubling urban legend attached to it. The 190 acres of ancient woodland is said to be haunted by a boggart. A boggart, for the uninitiated, is a mischievous spirit that typically occupies fields and marshes, but can also be found indoors. Though mostly known as a mischief-making creature that has the ability to turn milk sour, make objects disappear, and make dogs go lame, they also have a darker side. Boggarts are often blamed for the abduction of children. A good recent fictional example of a boggart would be the malevolent spirit haunting the family in the chilling horror film The Babadook. It is said that in previous times the boggart of Boggart Hole Clough was so active that a farmer and his family were driven from their home, only to return when they realised the creature would simply follow them. Wardley Hall. The early medieval manor house in the Wardley area of Worsley is one of the few buildings in the northwest to have a mention in the Domesday Book. Before it was occupied by the Roman Catholic bishops of Salford, it had a checkered and chilling history and was known for 200 years as Skull House. The story goes that the house had a cursed skull which refused to remain buried, and that when thrown into the moat caused terrible raging storms. The grisly relic is believed to have been the skull of Father Ambrose Barlow, who was hung, drawn, and quartered in 1641. According to legend, it is indestructible and would wreak terrible havoc if anyone attempted to remove it from the house. You'll have heard of Burke and Hare, the Edinburgh grave robbers turned murderers. But were you aware of Greater Manchester's very own Resurrection Man? In Middleton there is a passageway called Canky's Ginnel that runs from the River Irk to the churchyard at St Leonard's. According to local legend, it was used by a local grave robber named Canky to transport bodies down to the river and onwards into Manchester to sell. It is unclear whether Canky actually existed, as no one has ever been able to find anything other than cryptic evidence of his dark doings. According to some, Canky, who was by all accounts a hoot at parties, would watch as grieving relatives buried their dead, and then by cover of darkness would return to dig up the body.